way, I can say that Riften and Markarth are probably my favorite cities. We're not here to say favorite cities. I feel that as much as this is all super subjective, there is this objective element to it. Like we've been talking about different factors and things that make it like a better ranked city. You know, so I think that Riften, even though I love it, could be in position number 4.
What do you need, my thing?
I agree. Okay.
This is the thing. The thing also,
Until
just to
next time.
consider for me, like out of the top 5, like a lot of them are so close, and it depends the kind of vibe you're in. It can change and so on. But like I said, like we try and ground it in a few more things, like the most city, like cities, but things like grandeur and stuff too. Like why is the Imperial City cool? Because you go in, there's the Imperial Palace, there's all these districts and there's huge buildings. It looks cool. Why is Skimgrad cool? Oh, because it's got like the lower part, and there's the castle up there, and it kind of feels like welcome to Skimgrad.
There's a lot of factors going into this ranking because, for instance, like if it was grandeur, we put Winterhold above Riften easy. But it's also it just ain't it cheap.
The important thing is that the bottom 4 cities are night and day compared to the top 5. Like I'd say position 5 is closer to number 1 than it is to number 6.
Oh, absolutely.
So where we draw the line here isn't as important. Whether the top 5 are the top 5.
So okay, I guess then we're deciding between 2 and 3 with Whiterun and Solitude.
Do you know this
Imagine
is a really like
blowing up an entire
I
town.
I
Damn
think
college.
so close. I
Winterhold
think
would
I'll
never
put
be the
Whiterun
same.
at 2 because
And to the audience.
it feels more. It feels. All the central reasons stuff we said before, it feels more Nordic to me. It feels more like this is the seat of a Jarl. Like this is like welcome to Skyrim. Look at all of this, like this big step that I control. I'm on my house Dragon's Reach. Dragon's Reach has a really cool history with Olaf, One Eye, and so on. The companions are there. There's the Skyforge. Whiterun feels like a city, and the city itself, in terms of its lore and even in the execution, feels like it has a lot of history. There's clans that have been feuding for a long time. The companions have been here for 4,500 years or whatever it is. Like it feels like kind of.
I'd be a lot warmer
like the
and a
most
lot happier with a
And
belly
then there's
full of
also the
meat.
whole like you fight in Skyrim, but then you're fighting over it too in the Civil War, and there's that whole like.
Heard about you
it's that
and your honey.
tipping balance. I think that what's going.
I have so very many
Even
ways
the
to deal
plot
with
of Skyrim,
people.
it feels so
Very few
central.
of
Like
them pleasant.
I mean, it is. It's the main part. It's the tipping thing of the Civil War, and I feel like for all of those reasons sort of combined, I would put it at number 2 over
Take care.
Solitude.
I think
Always
I
remember,
agree.
the world is ripe with
Yeah.
people looking to steal your
And
plan.
I think we all just love Markarth here.
Well, I think the reason Markarth wins out is honestly the X factor over the type.
I just still think we're not giving Winterhold enough credit.
Top 3. Alright, okay, so the list as it stands right now, if I were to do a recap, as much as I love Riften, so we've got Markarth,
It's a
Whiterun,
fine day with you
Solitude,
around.
Riften, Windhelm,
Not yet, no.
and then Falkreath.
Although it is true my
We don't
husband
put
Torg was
Stormstar
the High
on the same
King,
thing,
and
then
I am his
Mortal.
widow. Now is not the time to lay claim to such a title. This land is riven by war, and her people suffer for it. The Stormcloaks are a blight on Skyrim, and like any blight, must be purged. Only then will I take my rightful place as High
The other
Queen,
ones a bit more, we can get a bit more clarity.
because that's what traitorous cowards do when they desire power. Ulfric coveted the High King's throne. He thought he deserved it more than Torg, and so he came before my husband and he shouted with that terrible voice, like something out of a legend or a nightmare. When Ulfric unleashed such fury, my husband, he simply ceased to be. That is all I will say.
And I wonder how much this
For it grieves me to speak of it.
Extra things. So like I said with Dawnstar, it feels like even if it's just that interaction.
Not yet, no. Although it is true my husband Torg was the High King, and I am his widow.
Part of the largest
Now is
Skyrim,
not the
like,
time
there's a
to lay
civil
claim
war
to
going on,
such a
we have this
title.
kind of sort of thing going on, whereas Mortal really feels like you could just bundle it up and throw it in another province theoretically, and nothing really changes that much.
Yeah, same as Falkreath.
Well, yeah, I guess you could bundle it, throw in Cyrodiil, but it's just beautiful, bro.
Yeah,
It's just
I'm a big fan of the beauty of Falkreath.
I think the real argument to be had at this point is if you prioritize how a city feels in the game when you play it Like physically, there's more to do, or the one that kind of has a more interesting vibe and a sense of what should be there, but history or the lore has caused to change. So I'd say Winterhold as a concept of a city is much more interesting than Dawnstar.
But you're not playing the concept. When you play the game, you're in the execution of it.
But the vibe, I think, is attached to that.
But I will agree. Like College of Winterhold, if we were using
Winterhold has a crap.
if we were using College of Winterhold, you could argue in its favour that it does have a little more X factor and grandeur. Like the College of Winterhold makes it look cool, and it's interesting enough that there was a collapse and so on. But in terms of being in a city,
the road
like,
to Whiterun is not safe these days.
City,
Lots of travelers just disappear.
like, especially
south of
Dragon
Dragonbridge.
and you're
Can't
not
find
going
a
to
trace of them.
Winterhold. Why would you be in Winterhold? There's nothing there to do. There's like, and it doesn't feel like there's a lot going on. You don't get any idea.
The winking skeever's
stuff.
got
The
warm
reason I
beds
put
and cold
Dawnstar
beer.
over
You look
Winterhold
like
is
you
that
could
it
lose
actually, at least, it's more like a physical town, but it feels like a society is going on. It feels like, oh, there's the Dawnstar Museum, there's the mines, there's the docks, and then they make comments about how they take ships, stuff everywhere, whatever. But then there's also the Nightcrawler Temple, like there's the idea of there's nightmares
feel
going
free
on.
to
There's
make
some interesting
requests.
quest threads. There's the Dark Brotherhood Sanctuary
Sure.
as well, which is a cool
What can
idea.
I do for
That's
you?
underneath Dawnstar. I don't know, I just like it.
Certainly.
What do you
That's a
think
fine
about
tune
the
and a
Black
good
Star
request.
and attaching anything Azura to Winterhold?
This next
Ooh,
song goes
Her
out to the
statue being
Dragonborn,
nearby and
the
quest
savior
being
of
centered
Skyrim.
around Winterhold.
Look, my main thing is you go and once you don't. It depends how far you cast the net, because I feel like if you cast the net to the entire hold, you start getting like the reasons. For example, you'd say things like the docks or something like Solitude. Like technically it's not in the city, but it's very like connected to it, or even the mines or something outside of Markarth, or like in Whiterun you could kind of like it's the watchtower and the farms around it. They make it look like it feels like it's still connected. I don't know if there's any implicit connection between that. I don't think there is between Azura's statue and Winterhold, because I don't think there is no implied connection there. Like, for example, Riften, if you were saying to the meaderies or farms just outside of Riften, there is that, like, societal implied connection that kind of attach it a little bit more.
I'm slowly agreeing. I'm slowly watching Winterhold fall. We're already
If you go, like, do you enjoy being in Winterhold? Because I don't. I think it's awful. Like,
No, I'm just trying to really like make sure that the college isn't left out. If you take the college away, it's nothing.
for me, at least, even Dawnstar, there's a few things like this is a complete mean one, but remember there's that like glitch chest you can access. But also caravans, the Khajiit caravans actually visit Dawnstar as well, and that's one of the areas. But it's just like it feels like there's things going on. Winterhold feels so isolated, so empty to me. And if you're like, oh, here's my pitch for a city. It's isolated, empty. There's no one in it. The only thing here is this College of Winterhold. Like, what I'm saying is,
And so is Chernobyl.
Sorry.
This is a weird example. I was going to say Chernobyl is kind of empty as well, but it's pretty empty.
Yeah, but it's interesting because it's ruins.
No, well, I think the ruins of the city.
But we're ranking cities. If I said to you, one of those interesting cities to be in, to go in, or whatever, to see in the world, would you put Chernobyl at the top? Anywhere
I think
near it?
a lot of people would. I'm not kidding.
Look, I'd rather go to. There's probably hundreds of cities that I would rather.
I've
go
had
to
just about all. I showed up to watch. Yeah. I don't know if they were right to execute him for what he did, but I'll tell you something. It couldn't have happened to a nicer guy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think a ruined city.
Listen, Rogveer and I grew up together.
Labyrinthian.
It was us, a few others, and Vivian.
An
Vivian
ancient
Onus.
city is no longer populated.
I have no idea why, but
If we
one
included
day I told
Labyrinthian as
Rogveer I
one of the
liked her.
cities, it would be up there.
It was a
me.
stupid thing to do. He mocked me
As a city.
incessantly
But you see, it's not a city
From that
anymore.
point forward,
But it's not a
every
city,
time
it's not
Vivian and I were anywhere close to each other, he made sure to
It's
humiliate
not
me.
just the physical
He
part.
beat
Like,
me
it's
up, dumped
obviously
meat
like
on my head, anything he could get away with.
The
Once he
reason
even
they go,
slipped a
like, population,
beehive
they
into
mean,
my
like,
bed. We were
population
children,
is the-
sure, but
I think
Rogveer
people
never
make the
outgrew
city.
that
'Cause if there's no people in the
immaturity
city,
or
it
his
becomes
cruelty. So any talk about him being an honorable Nord?
We'll agree to
Pure
disagree.
folly.
I mean, look, even as that people use population metrics.
I was done talking
something
anyway.
like a settlement town or a city, as well. Like,
Yeah,
Nah, the
No,
College of Winterhold is just too majestic.
I'd be genuinely curious to know how many people are in Winterhold versus Falkreath, including the college.
Look, I am looking at a photo of Winterhold and a photo of Dawnstar next to each other, and Winterhold looks way cooler because of the college.
Yeah, but we're not, like, that's like I said. I said that Winterhold has grandeur going for it because of the look of the college. Outside of that,
I honestly think between Dawnstar and Winterhold, we probably need to get the perspective of the viewers. I think they should decide that one. There's no way I won't agree on it. I'll just accept it if it's 2v1.
Yeah.
Basically, I think Winterhold is more interesting. Personally.
I'm going to send you to 3 pictures, and it will prove to you
Put them up on the screen as well, Scott.
Yeah, these 3 specific pictures, which make Winterhold look way cooler. There you go. Okay, you 3 looking at them?
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3. I can't believe you shielded Falkreath.
The Winterhold gets a bit like, even though I'm on Winterhold's side here, the Northern Lights help a bit, and the perspective.
Yeah.
But I think Winterhold is the coolest looking of those.
Yeah.
just because it's just how much waiting.
I've
You know what I mean?
convinced him Falkreath falling down the ranks.
You're no way you're gonna put Falkreath below college.
Come to sell me something special? Or did you just
Dude,
want to look
outside
through
of the
my
college,
merchandise?
there's, like, how many NPCs? I'm finding it up there.
Now, how many NPCs
1,
in
2,
the
3,
city in general?
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, the city, but the thing is, 9, 10, 11. Because it counts. It counts the college.
Realizing that.
No, it counts.
No,
It counts the College of Winterhold. So if you count the College of Winterhold, there's a lot more. But like, the College of Winterhold has a higher population than the actual.
1,
Look, I'm
2,
happy to
3,
do this.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14.
We can't include
NPCs.
Dawnstar Sanctuary in Dawnstar.
Keep the
Yeah,
troll at
yeah.
bay
Because
with
they're
our spiced
Falkreath.
wine.
14 versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I think there are more people in Winterhold.
Get your... You look like you could do with... I have my ways, but it's not easy these days.
Spiced wine.
Black
Taste
blood
of
This is not
marauders
great
has
wine,
been
but
plundering
it's
ships off the
fine.
coast.
No,
A
not
lot
by
of
a
people
long
been
shot.
hurt by their
But anyway,
foolishness.
Not by a long shot, it's close.
Wind Peak Inn just chucks a whole bunch.
Everyone
into
who's
Dawnstar.
anyone.
Yeah.
Bjorno
Anyway,
bought an apple the
like
other
I
day.
said,
Said he was looking for a new student.
it's hard to distinguish. You really
Come back
depends
when you
on
figure out
like
how to
the way
spend
you
money.
approach
fresh
the
fish for
whole
you.
itself. But if you
Spiced wine.
Down at the docks.
and you take
There
out
are a
the
few
cost
good
of
spots if you can avoid the East Empire
West,
Company
West,
workers and those red wave thugs.
leeks, and cabbages, fresh and ripe.
Spiced wine. The taste of home and heart.
Get your fresh fruit and produce here. Apples, tomatoes, leeks, and cabbages, fresh and ripe.
Spiced wine. The taste of home and heart.
Fruit, fresh off the boat. The freshest in Skyrim.
These are troubled times. Be on your guard out there.
I feel like we're pretty firmly it's not number one. I feel like you can do that for white.
Apples, tomatoes, leeks,
I got
and
some fun memories
cabbages,
of jumping
fresh
on
and ripe.
the Winterhold Bridge, using Become Ethereal or trying to land
Keep
in
the cold at bay with our spiced wine.
I'm gonna shield the idols though. I'm gonna shield
Get your fresh fruit and produce here.
They've redesigned everything so on, but conceptually, have a look at that for the whole to the smaller towns and so on. Like, there's ways to execute Morphle better and with the whole and so on. Like, even I for salvage of the city, and like there could even be a cool quest where there's like basically the Winterhold like bank or whatever has fallen in. They're trying to find a vault kind of thing or something that's fallen into the sea. Or, like there could have been so many cool things to work with Winterhold, Fall Creek. Same sort of deals, but you can kind of improve them. It's Great Towns and Cities mods do a really good job of fixing up Falkreath, and even Winterhold to a degree. It expands it, makes it look like there used to be a grand city there before. That's another thing I really don't like about Winterhold is it, outside of the college itself, it doesn't really look like there used to be this big grand city there, whereas, because if there was, like, you kind of want ruins crumbling into the
like the mod ads.
Like the mod ads.
Yeah, which is the intent, but not the execution.
Yeah.
Game. I mean, that Great Towns and Cities mod, that really makes Solitude stand out as a capital city, because they end up lining the cliffs with, other districts, and it just makes it really come to life. And with that mod, it actually feels like a huge city.
Yeah. So sometimes
that might be. Not sure if that's another mod. That might be JK Skyrim or something. The Greater Towns and Cities, I think, is just the small, poorly done cities.
What do you need?
Another mod.
I guess at the end of the day, sometimes the concept and the lore is much cooler than the reality of what you get, such as with Falkreath. And yeah, does anyone have anything else to say on our rankings? Let us know in the comments why Raven Rock actually is the secret winner.
Yes,
this
Doctor.
con.
I genuinely want to know which people would choose between Dawnstar and Winterhold. Even if I'm in the minority, I'd be very interested to know.
I have a feeling Dawnstar will win because Scott's
it's an actual
so long shilling it.
Because it's an actual place with actual people and interactions. But like, to be fair, they're all kind of not great. Like, I'm not like, as much as I'm like shilling Dawnstar over Winterhold, it's Dawnstar's a piss-poor city. Like, it's not like,
it
whoa.
should have been much bigger.
Yeah, but even just, I mean, honestly, just even unique architecture would change things up a lot. Like, but yeah, it doesn't. It'd be interesting to do. People can see if they want it, but like Cyrodiil's best cities, like Oblivion, the time of Oblivion, because I wonder there'll be some interesting stuff there. That once again, that I kind of feel like, but I feel like Imperial cities are the top there. Don't you reckon? No?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Just because, but there'll be lots of the other ones. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much for listening, ladies and gentlemen.
No, you're keen to wrap up.
No, I was saying to you and you didn't say it.
I commented for being the one to wrap up, but it's because these
No, it's because you're keen to wrap up.
Yeah, apparently.
I'll sit here and talk for 3 hours straight.
I take the bullet and look at them wrapping up.
All right, you know what? No, I'm going to reverse this on you. Now we're ranking Oblivion cities right here, right now.
Alright.
Let's rank either so
I unironically will, but I reckon I want you to chicken out first.
Well, who's going to wrap up? Because I'm going and opening the Oblivion cities right now.
I'm not wrapping up. We're going straight to Oblivion cities. Let's go.
Alright, let's do it.
Alright.
I mean, this one won't have like bottom group and top group, but I think all of them have much more interesting things to make.
One thing we can kind of, I'm just going to say, because we're actually going with the gameplay, right? We'll put Kvatch at the bottom because it's ruined. It's completely ruined. Like, theoretically, it could be a cool city. I still kind of think, as much as there's some of my preferences over, I think Imperial City is still like, it's just the biggest, has the most attention, the most
Imperial
central.
City wins by far.
Yeah.
Like the waterfront district, it just alone is such a cool place. So I think of all the districts in the Imperial City, all the surrounding area of little settlements, the jail, you've got the Arcane University, no questions, the arena is there, so many quests. Imperial City wins easily. Kvatch is at the bottom. I would probably, based on feel, I'm really tempted to put Leyawind down as the bottom, just because of my personal subjective feel of being there.
They kind of did fail to nail the Nibonese culture feel of those cities in the east a bit more than the Colovian cities. But the fact that each one has its count, and you know, it's a. I mean, they're obviously Skyrim.
Can I just say, I love all the cities, man. I love them, and it pains me to put anything last.
I kind of like laying a little more, like, it's not nowhere near high, but I do like it. Like, even the Argonian Khajiit sort of conflict in terms of feeling. Oh, by the way, this is the other thing. All of the cities feel more like cities, not necessarily because of just the size or something, but the feeling like, oh, there's the walls, they separate districts well, there's plenty of shops. They also, here's your local guild of each respective place. It makes every place feel a little bit more full and lively. Every place has a chapel. Every of the Oblivion cities just, they feel like they have all of the components of what makes a little society run there, whereas compared to Skyrim, you can look at a lot of them, and they're just not, they're not.
Okay, well, like, what's the worst? Try and pitch me the worst city in Oblivion, not including Kavach. Well, I will strongly disagree, but
some of them are in retrospect too, I can say as well, but like, I see, when as a kid, I really liked Bruma because I was like a Nord character. I'm like, yeah, like a Bruma, you know, Nord, and it's cool that you can get your like statue there and so on. But if I'm actually looking at like a lot of the ones that I find the most interesting, I'd probably put Bruma pretty low.
I have to disagree in one way, and that's after playing Skyrim, Bruma feels like the most boring city by far, no questions asked. But that's because you got so much Nord culture or Nords in your face. Before we'd been to Skyrim, Bruma was so interesting because it was a slice of Nordic vibe, and that's what made it interesting to me. It was very different, all the like, you know, different characters you could meet there. I think it's boring because of Skyrim. Bruma was also pretty cool to go back there.
I think Coral is the most boring.
Coral is, memories in all these cities, I would agree that Coral is the most standard kind of city. Like, there's the
It's the whole breed of Obsidian. It's the whole breed of Obsidian. It's the forest. But I will say, the one thing about that adds to Coral, that most people I think would imagine, is that it's very close. You go to the city next door, so like Coral, I know what they do.
Yeah, and there's also
But I think in terms of, it's funny when you actually go back and look at Coral, there's actually a funny amount of like empty kind of space inside the walls.
Okay, we can put Coral last above Kavach if you
Coral last, and then I would consider that if you really want.
Can I just say that Anvil is yeah. I know that's like lore and there isn't. Which team's working on that most? And
Sky Oblivion. Well, they're kind of both doing it.
Yeah, I've seen really cool stuff out of both, probably, and then mixed it all together. But Anvil is really cool.
Anvil's really nostalgic.
Winterhold is also quite cool. It feels typical now looking back, but at the time, it felt like such a unique city compared to all the other ones.
I think, just real quick, I think with these lists, the hardest part is getting the middle. So I think it's easier to close it in from both sides. So I would kind of put, like, if we were going from the top, we kind of go like,
and Leomin.
See, I kind of don't like the reveal in retrospect. I kind of liked it because you could jump on rooms. That was bad as a kid. Like, really, but in terms of actually going back to it, to really, and it's got a bit of a shanty vibe to it, which is kind of cool. But it's really ugly. I don't know. Like, I would rather.
I find Leomin quite ugly.
Yeah, I mean,
it's different though because reveal is, you know, poor. But to me, I feel like you see that in reveal more. There's the skooma dealer. There's the guy who's in debt, and you go and do the curtain quest to get the supposed Dragol's axe. And there's the skooma house with all the people in it. There's cool shops and stuff there as well, like the archery shop. There's just
Leyland, I guess, was just, I do like it's actually like for a change, a bit of a flatter layout. I do like the whole Zoga, the wall stuff. You go and you got got the Countess who tortures Argonian stuff behind the scenes.
Oh, I forgot about that.
But then you also, I just like the actual layout of Leyland. I mean, you should check out the Skyrim trailer, like the way that they've redone it, enhanced it even more, looks really cool. But I actually prefer the layout of Leyland rather than the flooded shanty feel, but I guess that's just a black.
We can put Leyawiin and Reveal kind of down there.
Yeah.
Like, if I do the same thing as we did with Winterhold, I could put them kind of on the same for now, and then put the other ones. But wait, so you think both Leyawiin and Reveal are better than Bruma?
The reason I would say Coral and Bruma are the most plain, they're the most possibly generic kind of one.
Again, and I can agree with you, but I feel like Bruma feels plain and generic because of Skyrim.
Yeah, before it was the unique snow biome. I guess, like,
it was the fact that incredibly unique compared to, like, other biomes. Like, you go to, I know Skingrad will rank high, but, like, Skingrad, Coral, they've got that same feel. They're just, you know, there.
The cities
and then
I
Bruma
liked,
was snowing and just different.
the cities I liked being in most were things like Anvil and Skingrad. And when I did have a Nord-obsessed character, I did go into Bruma because I had this, like, Nord-obsessed character who was a very role-playing.
There is also, actually, Bruma's going to step up here a bit because we talk about surrounding and related locations and quests. Cloudwaller Temple, right near Bruma.
But remember, for the same reason, it's not necessary. For the same reason, discounting Azura's statue, it's not an implicit sort of like connection to. It's not like he's quite right.
Well, they do come from all that are related to Bruma basically battle.
Yeah, but they just come
with the siege engine.
It's not an extension of. It's not an extension of the Countess's domain.
Yeah, but anyway, Battle of Bruma.
Bruma also, I think, the layout isn't as nice a city. I think because
Bruma beats Breville. I think Bruma beats Breville. How about that?
I mean, to be honest, you could. I don't really care about Breville that much. I actually don't like being in Breville as much. Yeah, you could jump around.
In a few hours, I will likely be dead. My men and I, lords of Skyrim, will soon join the Emperor's legions to attack the Imperial City. The Aldmeri are entrenched within, and our losses will be severe. It is a desperate gamble. We do not.
For mine and all my life. Quicksilver's as much my home as anyone.
My wife, Baytild, I'll buy everything you've dug up. That would be Skald the Elder. He's been running Dawnstar ever since he was a boy. And he never lost that brat's attitude. Turned on the Empire first chance he got. Now we're all part of this rebellion.
We can see this sentiment in the rousing
Until next time.
The damned nightmares have finally stopped. Don't suppose you know anything about that?
The Great War broke out between the Empire and the Aldmeri Dominion. General Jonna's Nord armies were exalted for their exceptional contribution in retaking the Imperial City. The forces of the Dominion had sacked the city, and when they attempted to break out to the south, they were blocked by the unbreakable shield wall of General Jonna's battered legions. Meanwhile, in the north, opportunistic Reachmen had capitalized on the Empire's war for the homeland. The Imperial legions stationed in Skyrim's western reaches had been called back to Cyrodiil to deal with the Aldmeri Dominion.
No matter what else
The
happens,
reach's capital of
the guards
Markarth
will
was
always be
vulnerable, and the
careful.
Forsworn took it with ease. Retaking the city was vital to maintaining a stable realm, yet the Empire was stretched close to snapping.
The Wind Peak Inn features the finest. Yes, ever since my mother died a few winters ago. I play songs and help with the drinks when I have the
A
time.
fascinating account of this Forsworn uprising comes from an Imperial scholar whose conspicuous biases give us a good idea
I'm
of
sorry.
the Empire's sentiment at
Did
the
you hear?
time. It
People have been
claims,
seen
in
coming in and
bravado
out of the Black
epic
Door.
yarns, the Skalds
Divine
compose its
have mercy.
exploits. You would think Ulfric to be a giant of a man, equal to that of Tiber Septim in his cunning, leadership, and decisive actions. But the truth is far more revealing. Before a peace treaty could be resolved with the Forsworn, a militia led by Ulfric Stormcloak sieged the gates of their capital Markarth. What happened during that battle was war, but what happened after
you
the
need a
battle
room.
was over is nothing short of war crimes. Every official who worked for the Forsworn was put to the sword, even after they'd surrendered. Native women were tortured to give up names of Forsworn fighters who had fled the city or were in the hills of the Reach. Anyone who lived in the city, Forsworn and Lord alike, were executed if they had not fought with Ulfric and his men as they breached the gates. You are with us or you are against Skyrim, was the message on Ulfric's lips as he ordered the deaths of shopkeepers, farmers,
God strike you down.
and any child old enough to lift a sword that had failed in the call to fight with him. The truth of the incident is unclear, obscured by the bloody malaise of wartime. What is clear is the fact that the Nords were promised freedom of religion as a reward for the recapture of Markarth, but all they received were empty promises. In one fell swoop, the Empire revealed their willingness to bend to the demands of the Nords, and then immediately cede their authority to the ultimate, denying the Nords their prize, and going so far as to arrest Ulfric to prevent the ire of the Dominion. The Empire in their desperation may have hoped imprisonment would scare Ulfric into staying in line, but as that same Imperial scholar noted in his account of the Markarth incident, against the bear of Markarth, Ulfric Stormcloak, no is not an answer, and they would soon discover the folly of their actions. Hey guys, it's Drew here and welcome back to Fudge Muppet. We recently answered the question, who would be better to rule Tamriel, the Empire or the Aldmeri Dominion? And today we have a similar question to ask, who should rule the province of Skyrim? The Empire or the Stormcloaks? We've already covered the major mistake which served as the catalyst for the Stormcloak Rebellion, but we're only at the tip of the iceberg, because the war for the North would brew to boiling point over the coming years. Throw off the shackles of Imperial oppression, do not bow to the yoke of a false emperor, be true to your blood, to your homeland. The Empire tells us we cannot worship holy Talos. How can man set aside a god? How can a true Nord of Skyrim cast aside the god that rose from our own heartland? Mighty Tiber Septim, himself the first emperor, conqueror of all Tamriel, ascended to godhood to sit at the right hand of Akatosh. Tiber Septim, a true son of Skyrim, born in the land of snow and blood, bred to the honor of our people, is now Talos, god of might and honor. The Empire has no right to tell us we cannot worship him. In the immediate aftermath of the Markarth incident, Ulfric was in no position to start a rebellion, for he was imprisoned. He even missed his father's funeral and was forced to smuggle a rich eulogy out of prison. Understandably, the tension was building in Skyrim, and in some way, he was soon released to take up his deceased father's mantle, but this would do little to blunt Ulfric's anger. Ulfric would not rest so long as the Empire dictated how the Nords lived and carried out their worship. In the very same Stormcloak recruitment essay, attention is drawn to Skyrim's High King, who, like many of the province's Jarls, were staunch Imperial loyalists. Our own High King, Torik, betrayed us to the Empire. He traded our god for peace. He agreed to a pact with the Falmor signed by an emperor in a foreign land. Are we to be beholden to such a pact? No, 1,000 times no. Torik had been named High King around the same time Ulfric became Jarl of Winterhold. Ulfric and his allies, the Paladin Kings, would argue Torik as unfit for rule, but he was heir apparent, so the traditional route held to determine the new High King was only ever a formality. At the moot, Ulfric announced his desire to be independent from the Empire, and while the request was a substantial and the next time he came to Solitude's Blue Palace, it was to challenge the young monarch. Ancient Nordic traditions forced Torik's hand, and the two dueled. The young High King was no match for the war hero's form, and while sources are divided whether it was the shout or the sword that defeated Torik, they couldn't deny that, honourable or not, custom dictated that Ulfric was now rightfully the High King of Skyrim. But this would count for little in the province in the midst of civil war. Unlike the Imperial account of the Markarth incident, this particular display of Ulfric's brutality is not skewed by the Empire's bias, and his brash actions are important to consider when determining who should rule Skyrim. Sybil Stentor, Solitude's court wizard, reaffirms this idea. She knew Torik well, having raised him as a youth. She was convinced Torik's admiration for Ulfric would have added a lot of credence to Ulfric's request. Independence from the Empire was absolutely a possibility without needing to take Skyrim's throne by force, and Ulfric's failure to exhaust diplomatic alternatives will be a stigma forever attached to his character. Regardless, Ulfric had achieved his goal. His rebellion was in full swing, and the Empire could not count on peace in the war. No sooner than the blood of High King Torrid had dried,
Ulfric took flight back to his seat in Winterhold. The Jarls of the Rift, Winterhold and the Pale favoured the rebels, while the Jarls of the Reach, Falkreath and Hjalmarch chose the side of the Empire's candidate, Torig's widow Jarl Eliseth the Fair of Harfinger. Skyrim was split in half. In the east were the Stormcloak rebels, in the west the Imperial loyalists. With the Aldmeri Dominion choosing to take a back seat to the conflict, the civil war could go either way. Perhaps the outcome would rely on the choices of one individual, the last Dragon War, but we're not going to analyse the civil war itself. We could break down the approximate sizes of each army, the leaders and strategists involved, even the landscape of Skyrim and the defensive capabilities of the major cities. Instead, we're going to look at each faction's claim to Skyrim and their potential to better rule the province. Under whose governance would the populace be most happy? Who would best protect the Nords from the alarming ambitions of the Aldmeri Dominion? Well, one thing is clear. If the Empire were anywhere close to being as powerful as they've been historically, the Stormcloak Rebellion would have been snuffed out in a matter of days. This civil war is only possible because the Empire is near breaking point. The Battle of the Red Ring may have been a triumphant success, with the Imperial city restored to the Empire. But the Great War did not end well for the Imperials. It's important to remember that the Imperials also venerated Talos, and were it up to them, the free worship of the Nine Divines would be allowed. But the Empire finds itself in a position where they have to take orders from the High Elves, lest they provoke another war and be destroyed completely. The White Gold Concordat was signed by Emperor Titus Mede II to buy time for the Empire to rebuild its military strength. The tenacity of the Red Guards in their ongoing conflict with the Dominion has indirectly benefited the Empire greatly. The Empire may have buckled under the Dominion's pressure, but in Hammerfell, the war dragged on for 5 more years, and the terms of the Second Treaty of Strassburg were far more favourable to the Red Guards than the terms of the White Gold Concordat were for the Imperials. Nevertheless, with the Dominion losing numbers in the deserts of Hammerfell, the Empire were given enough resources.
Take care if you're venturing too far.
They were now able to defend their southern borders while also committing forces to the war in the north. As of the 201st year of the Fourth Era, both sides are evenly matched. A classified Falmer dossier says, as long as the Civil War
your business
proceeds
would
in its current
sate that
decisive
appetite,
fashion, we should remain hands-off. It seems the Falmer have elected to allow their enemies to weaken one another. Given enough time to recover their strength, there is a strong case to be made for Imperial control over Skyrim. The Empire have experience governing foreign lands.
Now here's a man I'm glad to see.
Part of the Empire multiple times, dating back as early as the First Era. Portions of southern Skyrim were conquered by the Elysians, but it was Rhyn and Cyrodiil who won the support of the Nords entirely, bringing them willingly into his.
We may not have as much to offer as not much, but we get by. Very little money passes through Winterhold anymore. But if there's one thing you can count on, it's folks needing a drink now and then.
Dynasty of the Fourth Era. Even excluding the potential assassination.
You mean the inn or Winterhold? I was the same answer either way. Winterhold's fallen on hard times, to say the least. Most folk packed up and left years ago. Few of us are either too stubborn or too crazy to go, so we do our best to make a living.
To protect their southern borders from the looming threat of the Dominion. On top of this, no matter how famous Imperials are for their diplomacy, they can't expect to understand the wants and needs of the Nords the way a domestic ruler could. How about the Stormcloaks? Starting a rebellion is easy, but establishing order and stability when the swords are sheathed is another thing altogether. The sons and daughters of Skyrim are renowned for their ferocity and enthusiasm in battle, and Ulfric Stormcloak, the figurehead of the Nordic rebellion, is just as skilled in rhetoric as he is in combat. The faction's recruitment essays and odes are full of emotive language, and it's easy to see how the target of such speech could be inspired to join the ranks of the Stormcloaks. The text called Nords Arise says this about the rebellion's leader. Like Ysgramor, Ulfric Stormcloak is a true hero of Skyrim. His name will ring in Sovngarde for generations to come. Only he had the courage to single out King Torrig and challenge him to trial by arms. Ulfric's book, a gift from Talos himself, struck down this traitorous ruler, and by his death we are now free of our imperial shackles and the Falmer overlords that darken the imperial throne. The Empire has sent its legions to governance. They have enlisted our own countrymen to their cause. They have set brother against brother, father against son. They have caused Skyrim to battle itself in their name, for their cause. Do not let them divide us. Do not let them conquer us. Reject the imperial.
Just say the word if you need a drink or something to eat.
Join Ulfric Stormcloak and his cause. To those with an alternate perspective, These stirring words could be translated as, Ulfric ignored diplomacy to pursue violence, he abused his form to slay a young High King, and now the Empire is trying with all its might to maintain order by uprooting the weeds of revolt before they can grow out of control. But which story is more inspiring? Should you join the Stormcloaks, you will pledge the following oath. I do swear my blood and
The
honor
mages
to the
don't let us
service
go
of
into
Ulfric
college.
Stormcloak, Jarl
They
of
said it's
Winterhold,
not
and
safe
true
in
High
there.
King of Skyrim. As Talos is my witness, may this oath bind me to death and beyond, even to my lord as to my fellow brothers and sisters in arms. All hail the Stormcloaks, the true sons and daughters of Skyrim. But does effective rhetoric translate to effective governance? We also know that Ulfric Stormcloak is a decorated military leader, and his relentless, unyielding demeanor could be exactly what Skyrim needs in the face of elven aggression. But the argument can also be made that, if the Imperial accounts of the Markarth incident are accurate, combined with his impetuous handling of High King Torek, Ulfric may be far too brutal to ever win over the affections of the entire province. He is considered by Empire loyalists to be brutal, controversial and divisive, and a ruler who is incapable of showing mercy is on the precipice of becoming a tyrant. There is also the unavoidable reality that a Stormcloak-controlled Skyrim is not an ideal outcome for other races in the province. Nords in general tolerate other races, but they aren't particularly fond of diversity, and Ulfric famously forbade the Argonian population of Winterhold from entering the city. He has also shown his indifference regarding the Dunmer situation in the Grey Quarter. For a Nord, however, the Stormcloaks without a doubt have your best interests in mind. Not the Empire's interests, not the Dominion's interests, but the Nords of Skyrim's interests in mind. When comparing the Empire with the Stormcloaks, it's akin to comparing a handshake and a fist to the face. The Empire are realistic about their intention to maintain control over their vassal provinces, and they are full of compromises. The Stormcloaks, on the other hand, make no compromises, and will resort to war before making a single sacrifice. Both qualities have their advantages and their disadvantages, but I believe, given the current circumstances in Tamriel, one is preferable to the well-being of Skyrim. The cold, sharp edge of the blade may not be as pleasant as a signed agreement and a handshake, but in present-day Skyrim, the time for appeasement has passed. The Stormcloaks see the threat of the Aldmeri Dominion, who pull the strings of the weakened Empire, and they juxtapose it with the plight of Ysgramor and the Atmorans against the Snow Elves. Do not let the lessons of history go unheeded, the text warns. The Aldmeri Dominion and its Falmor masters made war upon men, just as the Elves made war upon Ysgramor and our people in ancient times. Shining Sarfall was burned to the ground, reduced to ruins and rubble in their treacherous assault. But Ysgramor and his sons gathered the 500 companions and made war upon the Elves, casting them out of Skyrim. In the Great War fought by our fathers, the Elves again betrayed men by attacking us unprovoked. The Dominion and the Falmor cannot be trusted. Talos worship is one thing, but another key argument in defense of Ulfric's rebellion
Never
is the
trust you now.
Ulfric's detractors will be quick to point out his brash and blustering neglect for diplomacy, and it's hard to defend Ulfric for what he did to High King Torek. But if we put it into this perspective, his haste makes much more sense. Ulfric perceived Torek as another pawn of the Empire, like his father Islot. He had no way of knowing Torek meant to operate, and even then, would it matter whether Torek was willing to consider his pleas for independence, when every passing day gave the Falmor more time to tighten their stranglehold on Tamriel? If the Dominion aimed to conquer the whole continent, and the Empire were acting as their lapdog enforcers, what could the Nords do other than fight? A young and inexperienced king would likely not be able to deliver Skyrim from the imposing threat of Falmor aggression, but a grizzled veteran, gifted in war and rhetoric, with firm policies on border protection.
Just say the word if you need a drink or something to eat.
Well, that seems like the ideal candidate for such trying times. Ironically, it would seem that a united Cyrodiil
If your business,
would be the
sure thing.
best hope for
It's yours for a day. I'll show you to your room. Right this way.
Can also be their greatest weakness, for they are in the heart of Tamriel, and they cannot hope to shut themselves off from the Dominion's pressure.
Let me know if there's anything else you need.
They share borders with the provinces of High Rock, Morrowind, and Hammerfell, all of which are free from Aldmeri taint. To the north lies the Sea of Ghosts, a hazardous voyage for even the most agile ships. And to the south, Between Skyrim and Cyrodiil lies the perfect natural defense, the rugged, steep slopes of the Dural Mountains, which has scarce few traversable passes. If Skyrim is to remain a land free from outer interference, where a Nord can worship their gods without persecution and pass their own laws, not the Dominion-influenced imperial laws, they must emancipate themselves from the Empire. This is a reality that Ulfric Stormcloak and his Nord rebels understand, and while the Stormcloaks are an inexperienced faction in the political landscape of Tamriel, they are a product of the desperate times, and for the good of Skyrim, the Nords should rule their homeland. When Kyne, the Sky Goddess, breathed life upon the summit of the throat of the world, the Nords were born, or so the Nordic tales say. These same sons and daughters of Skyrim, Kyne's breath in mortal form, are the key to securing a free, independent, and prosperous Skyrim. And there you have it, guys. The Empire versus the Stormcloaks, and who would be best to rule the province of Skyrim. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I know that this is a very subjective topic.